Guten Morgen, meine Damen und Herren. Whether or not you understand German, it's a fun language to pronounce. So that's kind of the extent of it, but I'm really pleased to be here. And Mark, you might be surprised that this is the 8th conference we have co-hosted with Layer123. 4 of these, 3 of the Asia-Pac ones, and the original CloudNet Summit in London in March of 2012. And it's been a real privilege to partner with Layer123. And this is my favorite conference of the year because it draws such a diverse audience from around the world and from around the industry. So I'm very pleased to be here once again with all of you, and thank you for coming. And I hope you get a lot out of this week. I already have. So my title this year is Pro Con Con. Every year, the last 3 years, it's been some combination of these 2 words, but they don't stand for being for something and being against something. This year it stands for profusion, confluence, and continuity. And in particular, there are 3 things that I'm going to talk about, which are the 3 areas of focus for the Open Networking Foundation this year. It's Open SDN, Open Source, and OpenFlow. And so with Open SDN, there's been a profusion of examples of adoption of Open SDN. With open source, there's been a confluence of interest in things that can be implemented, realized, and deployed through open source software and open source hardware. And the continuity of OpenFlow, and I'll show you what's happened with OpenFlow this year. It's not like it's a brand new protocol, thank heavens, but there's something different about it this year in the way we look at it that I think will have a very long-term bearing on its future. So every year I talk about the value proposition for SDN, for Open SDN, and it's so exciting that it doesn't change. And it's still either a combination of making money and saving money. I believe that the trend is shifting much more toward making money. It's still a little bit dominated by saving OpEx. But the making money is what captures the passion, I think, of the network operators that really want to take the future into their own hands and devise their own services, their own software support, and the things that make them unique to a very diverse customer set that they can now serve with tailored software. The saving money applies, I think, a little more strongly in the enterprises than in the telecom service providers. They're always running the network as a cost center. It's not how they make their money, except in a derivative fashion, still an important fashion. And they are making headway really from the top down, and how do I automate these functions in my network? Interestingly, NFV is a great value proposition for enterprises, but they don't call it NFV because the telecom industry owns that term. And the enterprises don't want to be seen as the telecom service providers. So they call it the cloud, or they call it cloudification, or things like that, but it still is NFV. So this has been a good year, another good year of deployments of Open SDN by operators. As usual, operators to me include telecom service providers, data center operators, internet companies, and enterprises large and small. Anybody who operates a network as opposed to selling products into a network is a network operator. So what I've seen in telecom operators, first of all, we're seeing people starting to trial with ONOS, ODL, and with RIU. And these are invariably Open SDN deployments. We're very excited to see that. Early stages for that. But many other kind of examples, at least in their data centers, but what I'm talking about here really is in their networks themselves. We'll share some news about that also. The cloud providers, they're selling virtualization and abstraction. Their layer separation allows them to treat different tenants and different clients uniquely with shared infrastructure. And this is being adopted by people who do clouds for a living and those that make it part of their business just as running an enterprise or as part of a telecom service provider's offerings to their enterprise customers. The NFV trials, and you'll see all the POCs outside, are very exciting, and a lot of service function chaining In the hypervisors, they're using the match action paradigm to control the network from the data center where the VNFs are located. And the trials are actually going into production in quite a number of operators in the NFV world. And finally, it's not so much the large enterprises that are making the most progress on the enterprise side, it's the small and medium enterprises that just want to simplify their network. They want to reduce their costs in-house IT, and they're jumping on this in a very large way. A large number of small enterprises making a big difference. And in their case, it's typically OpEx reduction, simplification, and automation. Now, when I talk about open SDN deployments, I must remind everyone that the word open has a particular meaning to us in ONF. It doesn't mean just published. Okay, I'm declaring this to be an open interface or open something and I will publish it. It goes beyond that to being not controlled by a single party. That's the real kind of open that we believe in. If it's controlled by a single party, they can change it, disadvantage their competitors, and it's not open. So this is the word to watch out for. So I'm going to go through the progress since Düsseldorf last year in the three areas of open SDN, open source, and OpenFlow. And I know the slides are a little busy, but that's only because I could only put on about half of what we do have to talk about. It's still a little too much. I couldn't leave any of these things off. The details, you'll see the slides. A lot of the details you'll find on our website. A lot of progress this year. It just amazingly, in the last 10 months on northbound interfaces, the northbound API, we've actually not only defined some in an open way, we're coding them up and they're going into major open source projects. You can see these here, the intent-based framework, flow objectives, which actually has gone into ONOS, and now it's being migrated and ported over to Open Daylight. And the real-time media northbound interface coming really from the enterprise side with the IMTC, which is successor to the UCI form. Information modeling. I don't know how many of you get excited by information modeling. Good. We have two people here. I wasn't excited a year ago, but I'm excited now. I have seen what it can do to simplify product development and service delivery across a network end-to-end, and especially across multiple operators. And I've had operators tell me that without a consistent common core information model, they cannot offer consistent services. Sometimes you think this stuff is just very theoretical and it's too abstract. Well, it is theoretical, it is abstract, but it is influencing product development and service delivery. So OpenFlow is like layer 1, 2, and 3, and the substrate is these bottom layers, but layer 4 to 7 has come a long way. A lot of it related to NFV and the service function chaining header extensions. We're making concrete progress very much in partnership with ETSI NFV and increasingly with OP NFV. We've had much more activity this year in our operator area. This is also new. We had these areas added last year. In carrier grade SDN. What do the carriers really need to make this usable for them? And this doesn't mean every box is 5 nines. It means the service delivers the quality of experience that their customers require. So they're developing a set of use cases that really make a difference to them. Vendors need to pay attention. This is what they're using to purchase. And an RFI template for migrating to OpenSDN from where they are now, so they will procure according to who's going to meet the RFI objectives and criteria. And instantiations that we've tried to help promote to show it really does work. Go look, you can see it. You'll see some outside. We sort of advanced our plug fests into app fests with real applications and some very impressive attendees. And the solution showcase, our third one, it'll be outside. You'll see it distributed around this floor. You don't have to go downstairs like you did last year. And as Mark mentioned, finally getting to the area of skills certification for the demand of the workforce to move ahead with the technology and get up to speed for the benefit of their employers and their personal careers. With open source, 9 months ago we launched an open industry portal, open to the public, open source sdn.org. We just kind of curate that, give some light governance, we build communities, it's easy. The projects come from wherever. A lot of them have come out of our technical working groups by members of our community that want to see this stuff instantiated in software. And other people not from our immediate community have joined in as well. I think there are 13 projects. They're not all listed here, but some of the really interesting ones are here, and you can go on the website and look at that. And the last one down at the bottom, you can see demonstrated Atrium. This is an open source SDN distribution, application control plane, forwarding plane, all on OpenFlow 1.3. Aside unexpected benefits, we demonstrated interoperability among 7 different hardware-based OpenFlow 1.3 switches and the same control plane. And OpenFlow continues to move forward to meet market demands. Big year for optical and wireless extensions. We had the packet optical integration with 7 operators and 9 vendors last winter. A lot of press, a lot of coverage for optical transport using this, and to be able to manage an infrastructure, both the packet layer and the optical layer, from a single pane. And let's see, 23 minutes ago, we put on the wire a press release about the wireless transport proof of concept that was in Madrid. Actually, I think it was last week, not last month. Press release is out, and go take a look at that. It's tremendously exciting. We've got a bunch of operators and a bunch of vendors that made this actually real, using SDN to manage now the transport and soon the access and aggregation for the wireless networks. We continue to work on interoperability because this matters a lot to the operators who want to build best-of-breed networks. A lot of progress in table type patterns, TTPs, including both sort of the forwarding plane ones and the application ones, and flow objectives, which I mentioned, which also separate what the application wants from the network with how the network delivers on that. I mentioned the 1.3 OpenFlow in hardware with 7 switches, and you can go out and see that. And a first conformance spec for OpenFlow 1.3. Now we're up to 1.5 and working on 1.6, but those are more for the software implementations. 1.3 is still the target, the stable target for implementers of hardware. And evolving OpenFlow into the future to be less protocol dependent through the protocol independent forwarding project, which is exclusively an open source project developing an intermediate representation. Now, I said there's something special about OpenFlow to think about, and that is OpenFlow is actually 3 things. I know it's at the bottom of the slide. It is an architecture where that architecture is characterized by a separation of forwarding and control. It is a model where the model is the match action paradigm in the forwarding plane. And it is a protocol which we all know. The protocol will evolve, as it has been, but the architecture and the model will live on. And this is what has made it a long-term viable concept around which to build OpenSDN. We don't do this alone. We don't do this in a vacuum. We work with other bodies. We collaborate with them. And as yesterday's panel at the ONF workshop showed, collaborate means contribute to, make your partner successful. And these are some of the organizations we have been privileged to work in a collaborative relationship with. My conclusion, what questions are people asking about OpenSDN? They're not asking what is it. They're not asking if it's going to happen. They are not even asking when it's going to happen. They're asking, how do I make it happen in my organization for my organization's benefit? We've moved into where the most important questions are operational ones. How do I effect it? How do I work it into a network management system? How do I affect my supply chain? How do I train my staff? How do I make it work for me? That's what we want to help with. We all want to cross the chasm to where all of us, and not just the leading early adopters with their own thousands of programmers, can make it work for them. It's for all of us. ONF continues to have the same mission it's had all these years of accelerating the adoption of OpenSDN. I wish you a successful week. It's a bang-up conference. I'm going to be here until Sunday because I don't want to miss a minute of it. I will say Dankeschön for your attention und auf Wiedersehen bis nächstes Jahr, wherever we are. Thank you.